Am I the butthole for writing a bad Yelp review about my child's daycare, calling them racist? A while ago, my daughter, 8 female, was complaining about her daycare because they were not giving her sunscreen. She asked for sunscreen, but they said that black people do not need sunscreen, but they actually do. Before COVID, they went on a field trip and they made all the black kids sit in the sun and made the white kids sit in the shade because it would damage their skin or some BS. I talked to the ladies at the daycare and they said that it was justified, but said if we brought in a doctor's note they would give her sunscreen. I made my daughter take it to school and let her share it with other kids, but then the teacher took it, saying she was not allowed to do that without permission. The other day she came home with a bad sunburn and her skin was peeling, and I had enough and wrote that they were racist and segregating kids and that she could get skin cancer because they are forcing her in the sun without sunscreen. I sent the lady in charge articles about cancer and that black people can get sunburned, and sent her names of the workers who enforced this. She said that they were under her orders and that she was right because we have more protection against this, and said that I was blowing this out of proportion and asked me to take my review down. I am seriously thinking of contacting a news channel about this. My friend said I am being a Karen for complaining publicly, and that black people have melanin, so that gives them lots of protection that other kids don't have. Edit: we live in the deep south. Not the butthole, that place is horrible, what the F? I would definitely not send my daughter back there if I was you, and do not take down the review. Other parents need to know so they won't go through this as well. I am taking her out soon. I'm just looking for somewhere close by since we live in a rural area. I really hope you find a good place. This entire situation is just sickening to me. That place should be shut down. Pensive face. As someone with dark skin, I agree. Just because we don't burn as easy as people with lighter skin, doesn't mean we don't burn, or get skin cancer, or just feel plain uncomfortable in the heat. This pisses me off to no end. Imagine putting children in that scenario. Not only are they harming the children with darker skin, they're also teaching all the children that the segregation is okay. Also, dark-skinned people are less likely to detect skin cancer early, as skin changes may not be as visible. So you might not burn as fast as an Irish redhead, but you also might not spot a new mole as fast. I remember seeing a news article not too long ago about a young doctor who published some sort of booklet or something with pictures of how common skin conditions look when they're on darker skin tones. Nothing like that existed before, or maybe wasn't widely available, which is nuts. Instagram brown skin matters. It's awesome. And NTA. This is like them ignoring a dietary allergy or lactose intolerance. Frankly, I'd report and get the license yanked. This is like them saying it's okay to beat the crap out of black slaves as their heads are harder so it doesn't affect them as much. It's literally like doctors in the olden days experimenting on black people or performing surgery on them with little to no anesthesia because black people don't feel pain like white people do. As if that can't be easily verified as false by, I don't know, talking to them? Observing their reactions when you do insane crap like that? Oh my goodness, thank you for this. As a black provider, I didn't even know this existed. Found it and now I can use it as a resource. And don't forget that medical textbooks are entirely based on white skin, so rashes and changes to the skin often end up misdiagnosed/missed because doctors are only taught what disease looks like on white skin. This one? Web link. I was going to mention that. It's fantastic that he wrote that book, but it needs to be in every curricula and every office now. There's a million textbooks out there. One book on black skin is progress, but until black skin is seen as normal rather than something exceptional, rather than needing its own textbook, and we see all skin colors in the standard text, black people will continue to receive less care than their white counterparts. In addition, a lot of devices are designed for white skin, from everything from motion sensors on soap dispensers to pulse monitors on watches. Plus, PPE is designed for white men, so tends not to fit women and black and Asian minorities with smaller heads and or wider noses. Basically, black skin and black features are not given much consideration in medicine and health. I was wondering the other day, on the back of the COVID vaccination but also in general, how a reactive red rash might be noticed on very dark skin if there wasn't any itching or swelling. It must be quite a worry. Yes. I was going to say this. And while my skin is fairly light, it's also olive in tone, but I burn as fast as a redhead for some reason. I suspect there are a lot of factors beyond melanin that determine your burn rate. I might be wrong, but I'm a mega burner and don't really look like I would be. Exactly. A typical training tool for self-detection is the ugly duckling technique, which is definitionally easier on white skin due to the contrast. I'm always astounded by situations like this. Maybe the employee could be excused for their initial ignorance, but what is with white people blatantly ignoring the experiences of POC? Y'all can't get sunburned. Yes, we can. No, I'm sure that isn't true and you're making it up. Racism is inherently stupid as F. And it goes on. Here's a doctor's note saying my child needs sunscreen. Okay. Proceeds to not use sunscreen on child. Child gets sunburnt. What the heck? I told you kiddo needs sunscreen. But black people don't burn. Like, people can't be that stupid, right? It's crazy how racism can run that deep. Can we talk about how ridiculous it is what they required a note from a doctor before allowing a kid to wear sunscreen? Especially when they were providing it to white kids without doctor's note. Right. And if they say it's a health concern, well, if the employees can provide sunscreen, why the F can't parents? If it was actually a health concern, which it's not, a nurse would have to be the one to provide it. Edit, and on the ridiculous, but possible, considering where this is at, chance that the employees could get in trouble for providing such a necessity, that's a risk they should take. It's effing human decency. Who cares if you get yelled at for giving a kid sunscreen? You're preventing them from getting a very painful burn on top of lowering their risk of skin cancer. It's more than worth it. F the screwed up system, the kids matter more. How much people bend over backwards to not see racism in the experiences of POC really is something else. The reason is simple, really. They only want to think of racism in terms of overt hate and or violence. Microaggressions, exotification, fetishism and other examples of general othering don't count as being racist in their book, because they are guilty of one or more of those things, and do not want to see themselves as racist. Any discrimination really is racism, sexism, classism, ableism, and others I can't remember off the top of my head. There is absolutely zero logic connecting their statements, making it impossible to argue. I would say that I feel bad for people with such rigid, stiff minds. They've twisted themselves into making no sense and no one can untie the knots, but they're such terrible people. This is like that bullcrap idea that POC don't feel pain like whites do in medicine that still exists today. POC routinely report that they don't get proper pain management in medical settings because of that sick belief. I can't fathom this either. I'm white as F, like constantly need to wear factor 50. My husband is brown, he doesn't burn as quick as I do but he still burns. But more important that it being visible, him telling me what happens his skin is all I need. I don't need to see his skin burnt and peeling to believe he can burn. I haven't put sunscreen on my legs in years and use SPF 60 on my upper body. Guess what burns? My top. My legs just reflect the light, I'm so pasty. But all in all, WTF is wrong with that daycare? Just because she has a higher melanin than them doesn't mean it protects her from harmful UV rays. Edit, melanin not melatonin. Melatonin is what gummies that help with sleeping faster have inside. Melanin is skin pigment. It's just disgusting and blatant racism. And why the hell would they take away the sunscreen she brought with her because it was unauthorized? This is so just them being racist as F, and it makes me sad. It's them punishing those poor babies for the color of their skin. This makes my heart hurt. I'm not one for name and shame, and I'm not suggesting it happen here in this subreddit, but original poster needs to call her local news station. These people need to be shut down, and Op's so kind she's thinking they're just misinformed. I didn't know black people could get sunburns until I was in my 20s. Once I found out, I accepted it and moved on. I don't get why people think they can argue against experts on subjects. Yeah, I've seen nasty peely sunburns on my more myelinated friends and, it was a real sunburn. As an esthetician, I am outraged that childcare would not put sunscreen on every single child. I make sure I put SPF on all of my clients no matter the color of their skin. Literally everyone should wear sunscreen every single day to protect their skin. Edit, keep the review up. Not the butthole in the slightest. Segregation and literal child endangerment. Uck. Not only are they harming the children with darker skin, they're also teaching all the children that the segregation is okay. The risk could be literally zero for black people, and I would still take issue with it, and for this reason. Even if the risk was literally zero, you either take precautions for at-risk students that don't discriminate when conducting an activity that increases risk, or you don't conduct the activity. No exceptions. Not to mention, sunburn is not the only risk here. Forcing the darker-skinned kids to sit in the sun is also putting them more at risk for heat stroke. How terrible for all the children. Not the butthole. Hit them where it hurts and make a complaint to the state licensing board. Do this. They are endangering children. There is no excuse whatsoever for their behavior, and then to double down on the ignorance. Not the butthole, but make sure this doesn't happen to any more kids. Jumping on this to add, that even if they believe that black people didn't need sunscreen, a black person, or parent of a black person, telling them that they need it should suffice for them to apply it. If whitesplaining is a word, this is definitely a definition of it. Exactly. 1. Segregating the kids, even without the harmful effects of the sun, it's hot. 2. Believing racist BS. 3. Doubling down that it's not needed despite articles to the contrary. 4. If the parent wants something for their kid, they get it. These buttholes just kept doubling down. WTF? Not the butthole at all. Report to licensing boards, and you can get evidence and take to the media. And putting all the black kids in the hot sun so they're uncomfortable while the white kids get the cool shade? There are like 8 levels of racism going on here, and that daycare needs to be dealt with. Seriously, it's like racism inception. Racism wrapped in more racism FFS. And you would think they would want to be safe just in case, even if they honestly didn't know. But how can you not know? And what about light-skinned black people? Do they line them up in order of exact tone? Do multiracial/mixed kids have to alternate days in and out of the sun? Actively endangering children, too. His original poster told them it was necessary, was ignored, and then the staff took away sunscreen they had provided for their child outside of that offered by the staff. There's really no other way to read that, and it was already ridiculous enough as is. When you make a complaint, you might want to mention that in addition to the sunburn, they are putting the kids at a high risk of heat stroke by making them sit in the sun. Not the butthole. Yes, do this. I am a daycare teacher. If you really want to affect them and hopefully see change, you need to report them to the state. Then it becomes public record forever, and an inspector is more likely to catch other places they're failing and also force them to change their racist ways or face being shut down. This makes me so mad. Yes, this. Reporting things like this to the state should be on the top of your list. They take childcare rules and regulations very seriously. Also, I don't know about your state but in Oregon we have a civil rights anti-discrimination paper on the wall that the parents can read, plus paperwork you can fill out and give to the state, and the childcare has to keep it in their record for over 5 years if they don't get shut down. Not the butthole. It would be one thing if they didn't know, apologize profusely, and learned from the experience. Since they have doubled down and refused to admit their mistakes, apologize and implement proper changes. Let them burn. I'm not sure about the South, but I worked as a preschool teacher in Ohio, and we had to sunscreen every child unless the parents said not to. They have forms to fill out, and they are placed in a cabinet until it's time to go outside. And this is for all ages. I'm just so baffled that it's not a thing everywhere. I live in Arizona. This would be absolutely insane to have as policy. Skin cancer is such a big risk. Myelinated skin isn't immune. I'm with you, completely baffled. This isn't the norm to sunscreen every child unless there is documented exception. This is absolutely shocking, ignorant, and racist. Segregating kids into the sun, in 2021? AmITheAsshole, share with everyone you can. Who knows, your daycare may not be the only one in your area doing this. Yes. Send copies of the emails. Take your girl to the doctor so there is a record of her burns, That way they can't deny it happened. And if they don't listen, go federal. Go to the news first, actually. NTA. This is grotesquely racist, and I completely support the idea of taking this to the news. This place needs an expose. They're harming kids. It's borderline abusive. Imagine the outrage if they were sitting white kids in the sun without sun protection. It would likely be seen as abuse by the parents. Go full nuclear on this one. Borderline? No, they crossed that border a while ago. This is abuse. Yes. They knowingly put black kids in risk of sunburns, heat strokes, and future skin cancer. They deny them an aid to prevent those. They even take their own sunscreen away from them. That is gross neglect and endangerment. As the daughter got a sunburn, I think original poster might even has a ground for suing. Yeah. This is so awful. Not only is it racist, negligent, abusive, teaching small children to be separated into skin color groups, it's also so intentionally scientifically ignorant. Despite being presented with a doctor's note, which they required for sunscreen, they still refuse to believe it's medically necessary. It's not hard to understand that dark skin only provides an SPF of 4, which yes, is technically a bit better than fair skin, but it's woefully inadequate for time in direct sun. It's not borderline abuse, it is abuse. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.